Welcome to CoronaVerses, Poems from the Pandemic. We've got a great live show for you, lots of poems today. My name's Alison Carpenter, I'm going to be hosting. I'm not a poet, but I'm a Zoom expert, so I'm helping here today. And I'm Secretary of Windsor Labour Party. I'm a mum of 2 rescue dogs, and I live in Windsor. So I'm now going to hand over to Janine Booth, who has been the brains behind this whole thing. So thanks, Janine.
The brains? Oh, steady on there. Hello, everybody, and welcome to CoronaVerses Live, Poems from the Pandemic. So when this coronavirus virus pandemic started, I kind of knew, I guess everyone kind of knew that lots of people will write poetry, because poetry is a way in which people deal with difficult, different, traumatic kind of events in their lives. So we set up this, I set up this Facebook group, CoronaVerses Poems from the Pandemic, and invited a few of me poetry kind of mates and political mates and just mates, and thought maybe a few dozen people might enjoy sharing the odd poem with each other every couple of days. And then a veritable tsunami of poets joined in. There's nearly 1,000 in the group now, and poems were popping up every half an hour, and many of which were really, really good. And it very, very quickly became clear that we would have enough material for an anthology. In fact, it very quickly became clear that we'd have to do an anthology of poems posted within the first week, otherwise we'd have far too much material for an anthology. Because here we are, okay? At the time we put this together, more than 1,000 people in the UK had died of coronavirus. Now, way over 40,000 have died. We were under orders to stay at home unless it was essential to go out. Some of us are key workers, we've been going to work. Others are working from home. Others are being community activists, are supporting people. We're making demands. We're demanding that our incomes are protected. We're demanding that the government does better than the awful mess it's made of it so far. We're supporting local mutual aid groups. Many of us are involved in fundraising and other activities. And actually, in some ways, what we're doing is filling the gaps left by the way the welfare state has been starved of the support and resources that it's needed over many years. And we wrote poems. We wrote funny poems, serious poems, formal poems, informal poems, ranting poems, rude poems, free verse poems, all kinds of poems. And then I wrote Attila in to help, and we went through all the poems posted in the first week, whittled it down to just over 60 of our favourites, trying to, with a good spread of things like geography and gender and theme and all that kind of stuff. And we put it together in this anthology, which we released first as an ebook, which is available at books2read/coronaverses-poems, and then a few weeks later as a print book, which is available from Janine Booth/shop. We will be putting those links in the chat on the Zoom and in the comments on Facebook. So that pretty much is my way of introducing the project. There's Attila holding up a copy of the book there. I will be back later to do one of my poems, but what we're going to be doing now for the next probably about an hour and a half is we've got over 20 of our contributing poets are going to be reading either live, most of them, or video, half a dozen of them, their contribution to the anthology. And I hope people find it entertaining, but I hope people also see this whole project for what it is, which is an act of solidarity with each other during a time of crisis. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Janine. So, Attila, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm waving the book here. And basically the idea obviously is that people are going to perform the poems, and the other idea obviously is that we want people to buy the book because it is really good. I mean, genuinely is really good. I reviewed it in the Morning Star the other week without mentioning my two, and it is really good. And all the profits, once all the costs are covered, any profits will be going to We Shall Overcome, which I'm sure many of you are aware is the organisation set up primarily by Joe Solo and his mates in the Northwest, and to help Pauline Town, who's been running a fantastic initiative called We Shall Overcome, from a pub in Ashton under Lyne, and this has grown all over the place and become a massive thing, which is brilliant. So I'm just going to do my poem, which I've got 2 in the book. This is the first one I wrote virtually when it started. It's the Coronation Rap, and it just goes, this little rap said to inspire us not to get coronavirus. Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, they don't want coronavirus. It's a disease coming on the breeze, and none of us would like it, please. It's a disease coming on the breeze. Piss off, Trump. It's not Chinese. Bloody hell. It's a pandemic running through the world at a rate systemic. Let me spell out my position. I'm 62 with a lung condition. Let's all work hard to avoid it till researchers have destroyed it. Don't get cranky. Don't be a fogey. Use that hanky. Bin that bogey. This little rap said to inspire us not to get coronavirus. Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, they don't want coronavirus. It's a disease coming on the breeze, and none of us would like it, please. It's a disease coming on the breeze. Piss off, Trump. It's not Chinese. Please be kind and give assistance. Always do it at a distance. Get your normal shopping done. There's enough for everyone. Panic buying, stupid caper. Put back all that toilet paper. What a crappy shit idea. Local pub delivers beer. This little rap's here to inspire us not to get coronavirus. Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, they don't want coronavirus. It's a disease coming on the breeze, and none of us would like it, please. It's a disease coming on the breeze. Piss off, Trump. It's not Chinese. You dance called the Pontius Pilate. Time we all learned to freestyle it. Water, hands, and a bar of soap. Cleaner than a microscope. No. Don't scratch your dirty bridge, then go down and raid the fridge. Please keep safe. Please keep well. Coronavirus, go to hell. Cheers, everyone. Now, over to the rest of these great poets. I'll see you at the end. All the best.
Thank you very much. So we're now going to hand over to Patrick. Now, Patrick Kealey has been an actor, theatre director, writer and producer for over 40 years. He's an artistic director of Theatre Nation, which is based in Hastings. So, Patrick, over to you.
Okay. This is what I came up with sitting at my breakfast table about a couple of days into lockdown, when there are no words. First thing is silence, where chatter used to fill my days, and airwaves, a newness beneath the cotton wool numbness. This can't be happening. This was always happening. Will this always keep happening? The silence, the lesser known and rarely felt. Oh, experience, woven into warp and weft of everything familiar, until the familiar seems absurdly, radically strange. This is sky, this is blue, this is sea, this is sun, stone. Me, you, now, in here, with me, too. This is carrot, this is rhubarb, this is old shoe. I once walked a desert with you. Categories fall apart, leave toast crumbs on my plate. The loves I squandered, words I didn't share, because there would always be time and space, until the seismic jolt, the shudder and the tremor hit, and the house of cards came down. These are dishes, this is dust, this is laughter, this is trust, this is skin and this is bone. This is life being born aloft. This is home.
Okay, thank you very much. So next we have up Ron Graves. So Ron, can you hear me? Are you there? So I'll just say a little bit about Ron while he's preparing himself. So Ron grew up in a mining community, Spennymoor, County Durham, while he learned about socialism and the importance of culture in everyday life. Since retiring from working in child and adolescents' mental health, he has concentrated on poetry, songs and fiction, whilst remaining a political and trade union activist.
Thank you. This poem is very originally called C19. The drop that falls from a clear sky condemns without decision each leaf and blade it settles on, each petal that it grazes. But in the misty earliness of a day that's almost spring, fresh stirrings crack the settled earth. New happenings begin. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next up we've got Jason Travis. And so Jason Travis is a father, lover, utopian dreamer, poet and visionary. Oh, and a teacher, trade unionist and political activist. He lives in Manchester but has family in Ethiopia and Uganda. Jason dreams of publication and wide recognition as a genius. See utopian dreams above, for poetry, pride and collected thoughts. So Jason, let's hope we can see you. Yes, we can. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this poem's titled Passing Bells for These Who Die as Cattle. We're herded onto buses and trains, forced to work by lack of sick pay or rent holidays, like cattle on the way to abattoir. Let the old ones die for herd immunity, the top advisor said in his 100K salary for some, working from his home, death for others to make profits' wheels turn, like hamsters hung out to dry and to die. But we, the people, aren't going meek for our own deaths. We're getting prepared and angry. We're survivors. Things going to be different post-virus. Never again to take us for granted. A new, caring, social orders planted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Well done. So next up we have Mary Kerr, who was a drama teacher for 25 years, always a staunch union member, there's a theme here, you probably realised, and still works for her local branch and district of the National Education Union as Equalities Officer. Her favourite things and people are her kids and her garden. So here we are, Mary.
This is called After the Storm We Dance. After this is all over, and those of us who survived are out in the streets and the buildings again, what will we do with our lives? When the air is cleaner and fresher, will we ransack the earth for its wealth? Or will we remember the beauty of life and be grateful we still have our health? Remember the workers who gave us their care and their time and their love, the underpaid, overworked people, not those who looked down from above. The rich one, the hoarder of billions, did he stay on his throne or come off it? The bankers, the brokers and hoarders, did they care more for people or profit? Perhaps we'll think twice about buying the stuff that we really don't need. We focused too much on material crap while there were hungry people to feed. Now let's think of the time that we wasted while we mourn for those we have lost. But vow not to let it all happen again. Not now that we know the true cost. The storm is finally over. We have one more, maybe last chance. Let's love and respect one another. Feel love, warmth and beauty. Let's dance.
Lovely. So next we have Randall L. Horton, who is a poet, medical humanist, retired college philosophy teacher and vegan Tex-Mex chef living and walking in Derbyshire. Okay, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. This is called Pandemic Preparations and Unexpected Consequences. They prepared to cook at home and to work and socialize online. They stocked up on essentials and even set a few treats aside for lonely days and nights. They crowded cupboards with an abundance of alcoholic beverages. They were prepared for restricted movement and, of course, the lonely days. They braced themselves for hardship and hunkered down in connected isolation. They forgot to prepare for the inevitable loss, the missed funerals, and the horror of death. In past plagues, the shouts rang out, "Bring out your dead!" But things are quieter these days. No need to raise alarm. Properly trained government agents, fully protected, remove the bodies in near silence. Paid celebrants broadcast unattended funerals to masked and isolated mourners. Grief is a social tapestry, weaving mourners to the fearful. Some forgot to prepare for the slight cough, the mild fever, the feelings of suffocation, the panic, the dread, and the shock of being, for once, the chosen one. No one expects to be the martyr slaughtered at the altar of random contingency, the unfeeling demise. They were surprised by the weight on the chest, the weakness and helplessness, the fear. Bold and brash at the beginning. They thought their resolve would never falter, thought their light would never fade. Things like this don't usually happen to people like us, they lamented. Those who remained stepped outside, reflected on an indifferent providence, and bemoaned their newfound wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nick, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Is it Toczek?
Yeah, that'll do.
Okay. He's a professional writer and performer. He has done dozens of books published. He's had dozens of books published and released numerous recordings. His latest book is Voices in My Head, which was released this year. So Nick, feel free to put a link in the chat. And now over to you. Thank you.
Hi. Poem I've chosen to read, I've got two in. I've chosen one called We're So Safe. Helps to tell you that when I started writing these poems, my spell check changed COVID to Corvid, which is a crow. And a bunch of crows is a murder of crows. Relevant because they crop up in the poem. We're so safe. Safe as where what's ghostly goes is. Safe as ghastly when it grows is. Safe as plague and ring of roses. Safe as fighting off your foes is. Safe as fright, as figures froze is. Safe as hopelessness proposes. Safe as sentenced to death rows is. Safe as murdering of crows is. Safe as daily news discloses. Safe as touching lip or nose is. Safe as wash your hands of those is. Safe as when their coffin closes. Safe as poetry and prose is. Safe as fast which never slows is. Safe as when your driver dozes. Safe as world and all its woes is. Safe as faith which never shows is. Safe as tablets can't cure Moses. Safe as ventilator hose is. Safe as all that no one knows is. Safe as every question poses. Safe as how the wild wind blows is. Safe as where our future flows is. Safe as contact risk exposes.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So we actually now have a video to show you from Jan McCarthy. So Jan couldn't be with us today, but she sent in a video. So she hails from Birmingham in the UK, and her short fiction, poetry and articles have been published both in the UK and overseas. Her varied work history includes teaching, industry, hospitality and overseas development. She runs a writing group and is a keen allotmenteer.
Yesterday, on a walk to the allotment, our grey hairs gave us away. A man stepped sideways to avoid us, I did not blame him, though grey hairs are a sign of survival, not a crime. And then a peloton of neon cyclists, young, fit, fresh, went by us, and the leader of the pack, a lovely girl, slowed to flash a warm, encouraging smile. And somehow, in spite of all I felt, all's right with the world, as long as smiles survive.
Excellent. So thank you very much, Jan. And next we move on to Lucy. So Lucy Joanne is an APSI. She's a mother of Aspies. She's an activist trying to raise awareness of social exclusion and disability rights, history fan, coffee drinker, poet, lover, worker bee, and a nerd. That's her words. So over to you then, Lucy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No man is an island, the poet said. When you truly feel alone is when you're dead. People are good, the Auschwitz survivor sighed. If you live long and don't believe it, may as well have died. Isolation with my family a joy, a blessing, with my ex-husband soon to be sheltering a lighthouse here. Sharing space because we can't go home, tense yet understood. People still let you find something good. Safe and warm, no UN tents for us. Binge watching Netflix, our own dear neighbourhood. Old habits die hard. The remote again, some bickering, and something in the background, old light flickering. First world problems. Free will takes a tumble. Maybe outside the world seems to crumble, but no bombs, no need to fight, no tanks rumble. The sun for toilet paper, Zoom for meetings, no hugs, no chats, no close-knit greetings. Still, birds sing and flowers bloom. We still catch each other's smiles on Zoom. I message you, you message me. Our lips don't meet. Still, peace and birds' song, streams at last run clear. No panic here. No bombs rain down on our hometown. Our children sleep safe, hopefully keep safe. After the virus, life will start anew. We will choose each day again what to do. You with me, and I will always choose you. The reed sea parted, journey started, the Easter rising, hope surprising. We are not putting children in boats or baskets lined with tar. We are staying where we are. Not islands, semi-detached but not remote. With hope, with faith, we'll float.
Thank you very much. So we're now going to move on to Melanie. Yep, I can see. Thank you, Melanie. So Melanie Branton is a spoken word artist from North Somerset, published by Burning Eye and Oversteps. So Melanie, over to you. Thank you.
The new normal is not new. For years, we have kept 2 meters apart, socialized remotely, bumped elbows when we could have hugged. We have tried to protect ourselves behind a mask, blown our nose on disposables and then thrown them away, washed our hands too many times. We have overfilled our cupboards. We have cleaned out the shelves, and now there's nothing left to wipe our own arses. We stink of shit. We long ago became contaminated by a market full of animals. Now we perform cold calculations when a warm body appears on the horizon. View it not as human, but incubator, spreader. Sharing a bed has become particularly hazardous.
Thank you very much. Well done. Okay, so the next one we have is another video, and this is from Mary Cross. Mary is a disability activist of long standing, so her thoughts are rarely far from socialist politics. She has poetry in her blood. Her father wrote poems, and her twins are also performance poets. So I'm just going to share the video now.
This vast entitled bag of air. This hopeless Boris has no care, with vanity so plain to see, his arrogance is now laid bare. He loves himself, he loves his hair, thinks not a jot of you or me. This hopeless Boris has no care. He bungles here, he mumbles there, looks at his millions with great glee. His arrogance is now laid bare. He's either holed up in his lair or lying by a glistening sea. This hopeless Boris has no care. Coronavirus plans are where? Our questions made him turn and flee. His arrogance is now laid bare. This vast entitled bag of air, gesticulating wild and free, this hopeless Boris has no care. His arrogance is now laid bare.
So we're moving on now to Mark, and Mark is actually based in Sydney. So thanks for staying up and being part of the show. So Sydney poet Mark Marusic is a co-convener of the monthly open mic soiree, Poets at the Petersham Bowl, which is currently in hiatus, obviously due to the lockdown. It's in Sydney, so we'll post the Facebook page in the chat as well for you.
Yep. We're still going actually once a month, the third Thursday of each month on Zoom. So I'll send the link the week or so. Dunny paper down under. Rolls and rolls of dunny paper, grabbed and loaded onto trolleys. See them rolling out the doors, now in nearly every store. The shelves that bear this stuff are bare, scrambling to get their hands upon this precious paper. Some people get their shits, some turning into shitheads, shit fights breaking out in fevered reactions to the virus. The footage going viral takes less than 15 minutes to earn some worldwide infamy. Selfish at the shelves, not always laid back about one's backside in the land down under. But once we were a land of backyard dunnies, no soft tissues, just the cut-up news of yesterday, hanging from a wire on a hook or a wad of gum leaves. Thank you.
Now we've got another video. This is from Gail Something-Else. So Gail is a frequent socially conscious ranter in rhyme, through mostly in the form of songs with her band Muddy Summers and the Dirty Field Whores. As a grassroots event organiser, she also regularly supports spoken word artists.
We're contactless. No need for touching, easily read to be sold such a thing, and much more convenient these days than a pin to press a number into plastic or skin. Roll up, beat the viral invasion. Special offers aplenty for every occasion. 10% off filtered imagination. Click pay, son. Join the virtual nation. Someone coughed, someone said. It's not safe outside. Stay in or accept the blame for aiding genocide. 0.00001% of the population have already died. If you don't abide, you're not on side. Divide, divide, divide. Now wring your hands, please.
So now I'm going to hand over to Janine. So Janine Booth is a Marxist motormouth, author, poet, disaffected middle-aged woman, rail worker, RMT union activist, and chair of the Neurodivergent Labour. She trains trade unionists and speaks widely on socialist and feminine politics. And it's Janine's website that you can buy the book from. So Janine, over to you.
I'd like to probably say that's feminist politics rather than feminine politics, but you know, you never know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
It does say feminist.
Yeah. Don't you worry about that. Okay, so I have 2 poems in the book. Buy the book, by the way, please. 2 poems in the book. One of them is called "Stay the Fuck Home." It uses the word "fuck" so many fucking times that I can't possibly do it in this fucking gig. So I'm going to do the other one instead, which is about a group of kind of political advocates who have gone kind of a bit quiet over the last few months. This is called "Wherefore Art Thou, Capitalism?" No one's saying leave it to the market. No one's claiming competition's key, that stockbrokers will lead us from the darkness. No one's sneering now at stuff for free. No one says that laissez-faire will sort it. No one claims that we'll be saved by greed. No one says just those who can afford it should get the test or get the care they need. No one says we need more speculators. No one's calling care workers unskilled. No one waits for private ventilators. No one thinks compassion should be billed. No one says the rich should keep their fortunes instead of sharing wealth for common good. No one says they wouldn't pool resources to help the sick and frightened if they could. No one says it's fine to charge your damnedest. Supply will meet demand and set the prices. No one says that mutual aid is madness. No one trusts a banker in a crisis. So where are Adam Smith and Milton Friedman? Where's triumphant capitalism hiding? Where's the wealth of nations when you need them? Tell the stock exchanges when you find them. But keep your guard for when this crisis passes and profit praisers raise their voice anew. When corporate beggars claim their place as masters, remember solidarity got us through. Tell them that we won't come back to serve them. Tell them profit damages our health. We'll share the riches, for we all deserve them, and build a democratic commonwealth. Thank you very much. Buy the book.
Thank you very much. Yes, buy the book, everyone. We've put the link in the chat and on the Facebook page. So don't forget to buy it. So next up, we've got another video. So this is Laura Taylor.
Viral haiku. Immorality spread thick on supermarket sandwiches. Eat shit. Bulk buying panic bumps up the profit margin. Retail rubs its hands. Consideration faked in multiple emails. We are sorry. Not. Minimum wage slaves battling bog roll abuse. Frontline warriors. Danger money now. Who'll defend the workers who cannot organise?
So Laura, who we've just seen, was born into a working class family in the north of England in 1968. She's been writing and performing poetry since 2010 and has 2 collections published by Flapjack Press, Kaleidoscope and Fault Lines. So we're now going to see another video by Bridie Breen, who is a Manchester-based poet, captures best and worst of humanity, simple to complex, injustice and oppression. She enjoys monologues, open mic, written word, collaborations with creative spirits, always a joy, inspired by life and human spark. So I'm going to play that now.
Looking up at you, looking down at me. You see it in the narrowing of their eyes, in the open-mouthed stares that say, right off, I was here first. Or in the not so gentle shove to the shoulder that says, don't you dare, as you try to navigate cues but can't mobilise without a wobble. Excruciatingly painful, soaking up looks of disdain. Probably better wearing a t-shirt that says, shoot me now, I'm only an owl cow. All that messing just to go get essentials. You hobble around, trying not to expend breath. It feels like Armageddon gone wrong, and that's without a smile from the Mardi throng, blind to folk with frailty. Wishing they would disappear, and that's before this virus gets them, blaming them for sharing the same air. All very well and good thinking most people will behave like they should, but you can't account for twats. COVID-19's sick joke is on the vulnerable and old, elbowed out into the cold. First in line for dispatch when ICU beds are in scarce supply. That's what gets conveyed, as I lift my head to look around, looking up at them, looking down at me. I'm trying not to cry.
Thank you very much, Bridie. So next we have Leo Capella. So Leo is 2019 Employee of the Year for the National Autistic Society, where he works as a job coach. He holds a BA in politics and a master's in international security. So Leo, I'm now going to hand over to you. You should be able to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Nice performance, everyone. A world is shifting through the seen and the unseen machinations of virus and human. Yet for all the greed, amid all the frenzy, there is humanity, there is comedy, as we proceed to ride these waves, navigate this tunnel to somewhere hopeful and beyond. Thank you.
Okay, so next up we have founder member of Swansea's Live Poets Society, co-organiser of the annual Kealey 1911 Railway Strike Commemoration, member of the Red Poets, socialist and activist, Rhoda Thomas. She is the author of 4 poetry collections and is featured in various anthologies. So Rhoda, I'm just going to find you here. You should be able to unmute yourself now. Over to you. Thank you.
Hello. That's actually Llanelli, where we run the railway strike, where people were shot because Churchill brought the army in. This poem I wrote when there was news that all the supermarkets were empty. You know, everyone had gone bonkers in fear. It's called Hungry. Into the trolley goes the last tin of kidney beans. There are only 2 sweet potatoes, not yellow new ones left. I shop for my flock. I shop for me. No piped music, but a silence as we progress, aghast around the aisles. Into their beaks I will poke mashed potatoes and beans. I live, if they live. In front of me, a brown anorak. He buys beer and fabric conditioner, frozen pies and jumbo bars of chocolate. I want to sweep a shelf of cereal packets into my arms, run out the door and into the car park, but I can only stand here in this glum, quiet queue, eyes down, head down. I'm hungry. Hungry for the sound of parents long dead, hungry for the laughter of a cinema audience, hungry for almond milk to pour from the fridge, for tomatoes and tangerines, broccoli and cabbage waiting to be plucked, hungry to sing a flash dance across the hangar, hungry to know that next time I come here there will be warm bread from the bakery, fresh yogurt and falafels. Behind me there's a woman who has found no tins, no potatoes, no pasta. Her children reach for sweets. I shop for my flock. I shop for me. They live. I live. The checkout assistant touches each tin. Each vegetable passes through his hands, rushed into the carrier bag. Oh, my babies, can I keep you safe? I want to curl up on the back seat of the Honda, scream and scream and sleep, sweet sleep.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, so next up we have a video. And this is from Hilary Walker, who began writing and performing poetry with the Bolton poetry group Write Out Loud. She has performed in Greenwich Village, New York, and San Francisco. She writes passionately about life experiences in order to make sense of the world.
Human touch. The first human language is touch. Instinctive, automatic, second nature. Touch comes before speech, before sight. Skin on skin begins each individual journey. In life, in death, in times of great despair, touch is there. We reach out, we grasp hold, sustained, soothed by human contact, we respond to those in need, hand on hand, heeding their pain. But when touch declares war, when touch becomes the enemy, when touch brings the biggest global threat the world has ever known, our lives are turned around, thrown upside down, postponed, cancelled indefinitely. We retreat and seek a different kind of empathy with our fellow man, find new ways to care, to just be there, virtually communicating a means of healing, technically alleviating anxious feelings of intense sorrow, heart on heart, until tomorrow, when the world will reopen and invite us back to living, when the sun will shine and mankind will be forgiving, when we will appreciate all that we ever had and all we ever needed to survive. When tears dry and smiles grow and the power of human touch is restored in all its glory, skin on skin, hand on hand, heart on heart, the first human language is touch.
Okay, thank you, Hilary. So our next poet is Merryn Williams. So Merryn Williams' The Fragile Bridge, New and Selected Poems is published by Shoestring Press. She was also the founding editor of the Interpreter's House. So Merryn, I'm just going to find you here. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Corona days, March 2020. Corona days, trudging along the silent towpath by the canal, wishing that it was the sea. Each day I hear, singing along the airwaves, fresh news of death, divorce, disability. How distant now the days when I was battling 3 months ago to set the world to rights. Now every trivial move must be considered. I gasp for sea air. I envy the red kites who wheel above us, back from near extinction, enraptured each day feasting on roadkill. Celandine's crow's foot fringe the path, where few now step out, spring colours radiant and cool.
Excellent, thank you very much. So we now have Margaret Corvid, who is a poet and journalist who lives in Plymouth. Her poetry can often be found in Red Wedge. Over to you, thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to remind people to buy the book, here's the book, CoronaVerses, and you can get this at janinebooth.org/shop. The poem that I'm about to read is called Siena, and this is about when in Italy they had the lockdown and folks stepped out into the balconies and started singing a beautiful folk song called And While Siena Sleeps. So here we are. And while Siena sleeps, the street lamps glow all yellow in the misty, quiet night and shine upon the empty streets below. A melody is rising with the light, deliberate and clear as if performed by someone who had learned it at the knee of grandmothers who cherished, held, and warned of what had passed and what would come to be. Invisible and ravaging in weeks, the hacking cough and hasty sips of breath, the ghostly crows that carried in their beaks our graceful singing in the face of death, the harmonies that gather with the strength of tenements all washed in cups of wine, the slam of footballs hard against the fence, the laundry white, a flutter on the line, the hospitals in frightful battle dress beholden to the dead for all their gold, the empty churches, nothing to confess, and overlook the sickly and the old, the tram to work, the frightened eyes and masks, and every word and breath and rasping sound, life-giving ichor bubbling in its flasks, discarded prayers abandoned and unwound. And while Siena sleeps or can't, it tries to rally round the heartbeat of the age. An ancient folk song never truly dies, and as the reaper waits for us backstage, full-voiced, sung with a curse or blessing found, to all our fathers buried in the ground. Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret. So next up we have Sez Thomasin, who is a Sheffield poet and youth worker. The full set of COVID-19 inspired sonnets is on Twitter. There's a hashtag sonnets from the torture days. So again, we'll put that in the chat so you can follow that. So their poetry collection is about growing up autistic. Historical plans of how Romans made drains is available on Picaroon. So again, we'll put that in the chat for you to follow. So just bear with me one moment. There you are.
Hello.
Over to you. Thank you.
This is sonnet number 6 of 100, and it's called Business as Usual. The bus is 2/3 full. Everything seems so ordinary, but it isn't quite. People are going to work, there are no screams, no looting parties, but it's not quite right. The man in the newsagents wears a mask and latex gloves. There isn't any pasta or toilet paper. I don't like to ask if there's more coming. Thought it would be faster, the breakdown of society, but no, it's all the same, except that here and there it's slightly different, just enough to show that something very bad is in the air. Online I read that COVID deaths are soaring. I'm terrified. So why is life still so boring? Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. That's great. So next up we have Steve White, who fronts East London's favourite folk punk political sing-along band, Steve White and the Protest Family. So we'll put a link to his page as well in the chat. So Steve, thanks for joining. Over to you.
Thanks, Alison, and thanks for your hard work herding poets this afternoon. And of course, thank you to Janine for bringing us all together. Buy the book, everybody. This is the list. Come on, Brits, it's the spirit of the blitz. While heroes do their bit, here's a list of the gits. No sick pay at Wilco, layoffs at Sodexo. Tim Martin says that his staff can get a job at Tesco. Libraries staying open right across academia. And Picture House sacked people who found out on social media. So come on, Brits, it's the spirit of the blitz. While heroes do their bit, here's a list of the gits. Hermes drivers isolate and get 20 quid a day. Giraffe staff use their annual leave, or else they get no pay. Aramark forced everyone into 2 weeks holiday, and Sports Direct's still the worst employer in the UK. So come on, Brits, it's the spirit of the blitz. While heroes do their bit, here's a list of the gits. Duke's Pharmacy charging 20 quid for Calpol and making staff take holiday was also Richard Branson's call. EasyJet stopped feeding theirs, but shareholders got paid while holding out their hands for a bit of that state aid. So come on, Brits, it's the spirit of the blitz. While heroes do their bit, here's a list of the gits. This list, dear reader, I suspect, is far from comprehensive. The behaviour of some bosses is really quite offensive. So let me put it to you clearly and concisely. When this is over, spend your money ethically and wisely. And stay out of spoons.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we've just got one more to go. But before that, I just want to remind everyone to buy the book. If you haven't already bought it, you can buy it from www.janinebooth.com. And yeah, Steve's holding it up there. Thank you. So if you can buy the book, if you have already got the book, then why not buy another one for a friend and share these amazing poets with your friends. So please try and buy a copy as soon as possible. And now I'm going to hand over to our final poet, who we did hear from at the beginning, and he probably doesn't really need an introduction, but I'll do one anyway. So Attila the Stockbroker was one of the original ranting poets, now celebrating his 40th year, earning his living doing what he loves. Much more than a ranter now, 3,500 gigs in 24 countries, 8 books of poems, loads of CDs and vinyl. His autobiography was published in 2015. So now I'd like to hand over to Attila the Stockbroker. Thanks.
Good, good. Yes, buy the book, everybody. And
Thatcher stapled to the cactus says buy the book too, just to let everyone know. So yes, basically, thank you very much to, first of all, to Alison for doing this, and for Janine for the idea and the organisation and the love which has gone into putting this together. It's really brilliant. It is a really good book. So for those of you watching elsewhere on my page or whatever, you know, do get it. The poems are really good on the page. This is interesting. There's always an interesting dichotomy between the page and the stage when it comes to poetry, and this manages both. This is the final poem, obviously the other one in mine, which is the one that opens the book, and it's the end of it sounds a bit maudlin. I'm just going to explain why, because it is actually an amazing story. My father was born in 1899. He fought in the First World War. He was at the Somme in 1918 when his trench was overrun during the last German advance before the armistice. And the reason that I'm here is because he caught the first pandemic. He caught the Spanish flu in 1918, and he was in the field hospital when his trench was overrun, and every single member of whose battalion was wiped out. And at the beginning of this, given that I've got COPD caused by 27 years of doing gigs inhaling other people's smoke, never smoked in my life. It's not really serious. I can still cycle all over the place. But I had this thought about symmetry, you know. My father, basically, I have my life due to the first pandemic. And I thought, you know, wouldn't it be a weird symmetry if the second one took mine? And I wrote this. I very much hope it doesn't, obviously. Fingers crossed I'm okay so far. This is called Take Courage. Another day, 2 puffs on my inhaler. My breathing calm and steady as before. No sudden cough, no temperature. I'm ready to write and think and help for one day more. My big strong arms seek solace in the garden. My cycling legs flex slowly with regret. No pleasure in those rides along the coast path when every fellow human is a threat. I'm fit for 62, no doubt about it, except my lungs, and that's no fault of mine. They bellowed me through some 2,000 concerts when all those cigarettes were thought just fine. They still fuel me for miles when I'm out cycling. There's millions of folk far worse off than me. I didn't feel such fear when I had cancer. That pink mass in my bladder, I could see. The fear we feel is normal. Let's not hide it, but don't let it supplant the love of life. Do all you can to help the folk around you. I see that courage in my steadfast wife. But if the battle comes when I'm ready to take the bastard on with all my might, if I'm gone, we'll face a brand new future. Please use these poems and songs to spread some light. Please buy the book. Thank you. Well done, Janine. Well done, everybody. Well done, especially to Mark. Well done, mate. Over there in Sydney in 2 o'clock in the morning. I've done the same thing the other way around a few times during lockdown. So absolutely. And thank you above all to Alison for coordinating this, because some of us are pretty good at poetry and organising gigs, but absolutely useless at technology. So, and your contribution is essential to make these sort of things happen. So thank you and cheers.
Thank you. I had a few
well done, everybody.
hitches.
Well done, everybody, and especially big well done to people who don't normally perform in public and have done so. It takes some guts, you know.
Thank you very much. Yes, apologies for a couple of my pronunciations and technical hitches there, but it was a great gig. I just want to hand over to Janine just for some closing words before we end the call. Thanks, Janine.
Yeah, so thank you very much for everyone who joined in. Just checking you can hear me. Oh, you can. There you go. Thank you for everyone who came and read their poems today. As Attila said, look, if you haven't done this before, this is your first time doing it. That's absolutely brilliant. And one of the great things about this book is it includes some people who've been poeting for fucking decades, like Nick and Attila, and includes other people who've been doing a little bit on the side for a while, and includes other people who wouldn't even have called themselves a poet until they had a poem published in this book. And I think that's fantastic. And I think that tells us something about poetry and how accessible and democratic a medium it is. And I hope this gig that we've done today has helped to emphasize that. I'd like to remind you of the cause for which we're raising money here. Attila mentioned earlier, all proceeds past, any profits, we are into profits, okay? All the production printing costs have been covered. So all of your money now, when you buy a book we'll go straight to We Shall Overcome, which is an anti-austerity campaign that supports community initiatives and has the wonderful slogan of a raised fist and a helping hand. So the ebook costs £3.99. I hate these, 99 things, but ebook publishers make you do it, so don't blame us. And the print book costs £8. Buy it for yourself, buy it for other people. Thank you very much to all the poets. Thank you for your help throughout the project as well as today. And I'm going to end up by saying thank you to Alison, because she's just been fantastic. It would have fallen apart without Alison's key anchor role, done very, very professionally. If you enjoy Alison's presentation a great deal, you can catch her regularly on Stay Home for Labour, which is the lockdown version of Stand Up for Labour. So you can watch, I think that's on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Well, we're just doing Wednesday evenings at the moment. But yeah.
Wednesday evenings at the moment. Yeah. Go along that. It's a right mix of comedy, poetry, music, mirth, and general arsing around and politics. So thank you everybody very much. Please continue to support CoronaVerses. Please buy the book. It's an act of solidarity. So I'll end by wishing solidarity and good wishes to all of you. Hurrah.
Cheers, Janine. Well done. Yeah, all the best. Cheers, everybody.